Go back to the 50s when life was so nifty with Bettie Bornay. Hello, darlings. It's Bettie Bornay again, bringing you everything 1950s. Today we're going to have fun because we're going to cook for the holidays. Now, before I do, I've got to put on my apron because, let me show you my beautiful 1950s frock. That's what they called it, a frock. It's a cotton house dress that was very popular. All the women wore them. I remember my mother wearing them. And I'm also going to put on my beautiful 1950s apron, which, by the way, matches my beautiful 1950s vintage kitchen. So, did you ever hear of something called pickle poppers? I bet you didn't. We're going to make some. You know, back then, housewives took great pride in making some sort of unusual hors d'oeuvre to bring to their friends' houses when they got together to play cards or have a holiday party like now, Christmas, New Year's, whatever. Here's what you do. You take dill pickles. You take small dill pickles. You cut them in half like this. Okay. And here you got your two halves. Then you got to scoop out the center. You got to get rid of all these little seeds and stuff. I'm using my old-fashioned melon baller. This is an antique, by the way. I start at the end and I work my way down because I don't want to damage the end. You know, it's a delicate little pickle. Now, if you don't have a melon baller, not a problem. You can use a teaspoon, a grapefruit spoon, whatever you have. But what we're doing is we are scooping out the insides, okay? Yeah, I did this one. Put this aside, and we'll do this one. Now, I made a whole bunch of these in advance, but I just wanted to demonstrate how to do this. Okay, there we go. Next thing you do is you got to make sure these are dry because pickles are very moist. So you take your paper towel and you dry it off. You pat it very well, both the inside and the outside. Okay. Do the other one. There we go. That's fine. Okay. And then we're going to fill it with pimento cheese spread. Now, back in the 50s, women made their own, but and I made this too, but you can buy it ready-made because I know they have this all over the place. So you're just going to fill in that little river, that little stream, whatever you want to call it in there. And we're just going to do that. And the other one. Now, I preheated my oven to 350. You do have to bake these a little while. Now, when you're finished filling them, the next thing you have to do is you have to wrap them in something. You can wrap them in thinly sliced turkey or thinly sliced ham. Now, I've done the ham ones. They're over there. So I'm going to take a piece of thinly sliced turkey that I got from the deli department, and I'm just going to wrap this up like so. See? Like a little roll-up. Take another one here. My little roll-up. There we go. Okay, we're all ready to go. So, I'm going to take this over to the oven now. 15 minutes on 350, okay? Now, the simplest and easiest thing to make back in the 50s was chip and dip. You took sour cream, which, by the way, is in my original Tupperware container, and you took a packet of onion soup mix. You just mix it in. There you go. You just dump it in, mix it real well, chill it in the refrigerator a little while, and then you serve it with potato chips. Now, back then, we didn't have all these fancy, healthful crackers and crostini and all that stuff. All we had was chips. And did you know that it wasn't until 1955 that's when we got the ruffled potato chips? Prior to that, it was just the plain little old-fashioned potato chips, which were so delicate, you really couldn't dip them into anything unless it was something soft enough, like this. See, you wouldn't break your potato chip if you dipped it in this. That's why they didn't have any heavy dips like they do now. So this looks pretty good. Let me put it in a beautiful dish. I have this lovely Lazy Susan over there where you have compartments to put in little veggies and things, which we can also dip into this onion soup mix. This really brings back memories of my childhood. You know, people used to get together with other couples maybe once a month, go to each other's houses and play cards like pinochle or bridge. Sometimes ladies got together and played mahjong, which is not a card game, but that was very popular back then too. So here we are, our lovely, lovely onion dip. Okay, I will set that aside. And moving right along, excuse me, there you go, goodbye. This is one of my favorites. Everybody ate Ritz crackers. You didn't have all the fancy kind. All you had basically was Ritz, maybe saltines. And I always used to call these Ritzy Titsy crackers when I was a kid. It's so silly, I know, but you know, kids. Anyway, here is a very simple hors d'oeuvre. You take some Ritzy Titsy crackers. Oops, I just broke one. Yum. And you take my next favorite ingredient, you're gonna die. Velveeta cheese. Everybody loved Velveeta. Now, if you read my book, A Bronx Christmas, you would know that the girl is constantly mentioning their favorite dish was Velveeta mac and cheese, and they ate it often. So maybe, you know, maybe I'll do a show, and we'll actually make the Velveeta mac and cheese. So I'm cutting off these little slices. I'm going to cut them in half so they make little squares. Now, if you don't want to use Velveeta, they also had something called Cheese Whiz, which came in a jar. It was softer, and you just, you can squeeze it out or just spread it on there however you wanted to do it. So that's what we would do. Okay, here I need one more cracker. Okay, and then we would top it off with an olive. Now you can use the black olives, you can use these little olives with pimentos, which were my favorite. Reminds me of Mickey. I used to have a cat named Mickey. Mickey loved cheese, and he loved olives. Don't ask me why, he was a crazy cat. But the two of us would sit up late on Friday nights watching a show called Shock Theater with Zachary. Now this is back in New York. I don't know if any of you knew about that, but anyway, and we would eat olives and cheese all night. True story. Okay, so here we go. There, isn't that lovely? Have one. You want one? Well, I'm just going to put these aside for now and move on to our next thing. Okay. One last thing I want to show you. We always had fresh celery cut in these pretty little shapes, and we would stuff it with something delicious like my favorite, which is cheesy pimento. Or if you wanted something on the sweet side, you could take cream cheese, softened cream cheese, mix it with crushed walnuts and cranberries for a very festive, sweet kind of hors d'oeuvre, which was really popular at Christmas time. So, you know what I'm going to do now? I think we have enough to give you an idea of what it was like in the 50s to have hors d'oeuvres. So I'm just going to gather everything together and make you a little presentation, okay? Okay. So here we are with all our wonderful hors d'oeuvres. I'm going to help myself to some things here. You know, one thing I forgot to mention was Chex Mix. Back in those days, it didn't come ready-made in a box. You had to make your own, and this was the absolute favorite thing at every party. Oh, by the way, before I forget, everything I do on this show, Bettie Bornay 1950s, is mentioned in this book, A Bronx Christmas, a nostalgic novel about a young girl's impossible wish in 1957 New York. If you haven't gotten it yet, you better. Also, as long as we're on the subject of parties, get my companion book, Letters to Santa from the Lovelorn, an adult songbook of the oddest letters Santa ever received. You'll love to have a sing-along with this one. Anyway, have fun at your holiday parties, eat some yummy stuff, merry and happy.